Imagine waking up to check your bank account and realizing that the Social Security payment you were expecting is suddenly smaller. For millions of Americans who rely on Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, that fear is becoming very real. A new update suggests that monthly benefits could be reduced by as much as $300, raising alarm bells among seniors, people with disabilities, and families who depend on this critical support. Is this just a rumor, or is it a serious policy shift coming in 2025? Let's break it all down and make sense of what's really happening with your Social Security check. For decades, SSI has been a lifeline for people who cannot work or who face limited income and resources. While the program is separate from Social Security retirement benefits, the two are often linked in public discussions because they share similar goals: protecting the most vulnerable Americans. Right now, over 8 million people depend on SSI, many of them seniors or individuals with disabilities. Any change to the program, whether a benefit increase or reduction, has an immediate and very real impact on daily life. The concern about a $300 cut stems from recent discussions in Congress and budget reports pointing to cost-saving measures within federal assistance programs. As the federal government struggles with rising debt and ongoing budget negotiations, programs like Social Security and SSI often become the focus of reform debates. Lawmakers are weighing whether to adjust income thresholds, reduce monthly payments, or revise how cost of living increases are calculated. In plain terms, this means your monthly SSI check may not look the same in 2025 as it does today. Let's talk about where this number, $300, comes from. Several proposals on the table suggest recalculating SSI benefits by tightening eligibility rules and reducing the payment amounts for certain groups, particularly those who receive additional income from other sources. For example, a senior who receives a small pension on top of SSI could see their benefits reduced. Similarly, households where two spouses both qualify for SSI may face adjustments that bring down their combined monthly checks. In some scenarios, that reduction could amount to around $300 per month. For families already living close to the poverty line, losing that amount is not just inconvenient, it can be devastating. At the same time, there is another layer to this story. While some proposals involve cuts, others include reforms that could actually increase benefits for some recipients. Advocates argue that the current benefit structure is outdated and does not reflect the true cost of living in today's economy. They point out that rent, groceries, medical bills, and utilities have all climbed sharply in recent years, but SSI has not kept pace. For example, the maximum federal SSI benefit in 2024 is just under $915 for individuals. That's barely enough to cover housing costs in many cities, let alone other essentials. Advocates are pushing for reforms that would modernize SSI and expand benefits, not reduce them. So why are people talking about cuts at all? The answer lies in budget pressures and political differences. Some lawmakers believe the only way to keep federal programs sustainable is by reducing spending. They argue that without cuts, SSI and similar programs could become unsustainable in the long term, adding strain to an already massive federal deficit. Others, however, counter that cutting benefits for vulnerable populations is the wrong approach, and that the real solution is to increase revenue by adjusting tax policies, particularly for wealthier Americans. This clash of perspectives is why recipients are hearing mixed signals. On one hand, promises of benefit increases, and on the other hand, warnings about possible reductions. For SSI recipients, the most important thing to understand right now is that nothing is finalized yet. Proposals are being debated, numbers are being negotiated, and no official law has been passed that mandates a $300 cut. That said, history teaches us that major changes often happen quickly once budget agreements are reached. That means it's essential to stay informed and prepared. If you or someone you love depends on SSI, here are a few steps to take as we move toward 2025. First, keep an eye on official updates from the Social Security Administration. Avoid relying solely on rumors or social media posts, which can often exaggerate or misinterpret the facts. Second, review your current budget and expenses. Ask yourself how a reduction, whether $300 or even less, would affect your ability to cover essentials. Planning ahead can help soften the blow if cuts do happen. Third, look into other assistance programs that may help bridge the gap. State and local governments often offer support for housing, food, or healthcare that can supplement SSI benefits. It's also important to use your voice. Lawmakers pay attention when constituents speak up. If you believe cuts to SSI would harm you or your community, reach out to your representatives in Congress. Public pressure has stopped or altered benefit cuts before, and it can do so again. Advocacy groups are already mobilizing, encouraging recipients and allies to push for reforms that strengthen, not weaken, the SSI program. Now, let's step back and ask the bigger question. Could a $300 cut really happen? The answer is yes, but it's not guaranteed. The figure comes from proposed scenarios, not final decisions. What's more, the political landscape in 2025 will play a huge role. If Congress leans toward austerity, cuts become more likely. If momentum builds behind expanding social safety nets, then we may actually see increases instead. For recipients, the uncertainty is the hardest part, living in limbo, not knowing whether next year will bring relief or hardship. What we can say for certain is this: SSI is at a crossroads. The program has not been seriously updated in decades, and pressure is mounting to make changes. Whether those changes come in the form of cuts or expansions depends on ongoing debates in Washington. In the meantime, millions of Americans are left waiting, worrying, and hoping that their financial lifeline will not be weakened. And this is where you come in. If you're watching this, it's because you care about what happens to Social Security and SSI. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay prepared. So let's recap. The idea of a $300 cut to SSI benefits in 2025 is not yet a certainty, but it is a possibility under some proposals being discussed in Congress. The motivations range from budget-saving efforts to attempts at long-term solvency. But there are also strong voices fighting for expansion, arguing that the program should grow, not shrink, to meet the needs of today's economy. The outcome will affect millions of vulnerable Americans who depend on SSI for survival. And that brings us back to the central point. For anyone who relies on SSI, this is not the time to tune out. October votes, budget deals, and new rules could reshape your benefits in ways that matter deeply to your daily life. Whether it's $300 or even less, every dollar counts when you're living on a fixed income.